Hey, Kowalski here. Welcome back to another video. Now, in this video we're returning to the series where we're covering the World Chess Championships in order. And now we're in 1851, again in London. But this time, it's the first ever chess tournament. It's a knockout tournament, and there are 16 players. And you know, the winner is going to be considered the best in Europe. There have been many strong players invited to this tournament, although some of them declined. And the story about the protagonist of today, Adolf Anderssen, is that he considered the travel expenses to be a little bit costly for him. So Staunton offered to pay his expenses if he didn't win the great prize of first place. He eventually won the first place, and he didn't have to pay any extra travel expenses. But today I'm gonna show you a match, a game played in the match between Staunton and Anderssen in the semi-finals. So, being a knockout tournament, in the first round there were 16 players and it was a best of 3 to move on. But in the later rounds it was always a best of 7, and Anderssen managed to beat Staunton 4-1 in the semi-finals, and then managed to beat Viville 4.5 to 2.5 in the finals. Let's just see the game. And so, actually Anderssen is playing with the black pieces, so let's flip the board and see it from his perspective. We have e4 and e5, we're gonna see a very classical Italian opening here played between these two. And just d3, d6. I picked this game because it looked very, very modern, and so we saw these things also in our days. Like, this position has been reached a lot of times by grandmasters. And bishop g5, and now it's where we get into the more rare games. But Carlsen had this position against Karyakin in 2017, for example, so it's still there. We have knight b to d2, a6, and with this moves a4, bishop a7, this is where we start to deviate a little bit. Now we're back into the 2700 territory, and there are going to be a lot of transpositions, but now bishop takes on f6 is kind of like the first new move of the position, because here usually players have played either castles or knight h4, not giving up the bishop pair yet, because although you get to double the pawns, black is actually fine. So we have knight h4 now, and now just simply c6, preparing this d5 maneuver. And white decides to go queen f3, bring the queen closer to the action here. Maybe check, maybe knight f5, but it's very important that this square is not available for the knight. Otherwise, this hole would have actually been a problem, but for now it's good. So you have time to play this move d5, and d5 either forces the bishop back or an exchange, but you don't really want to exchange, as now black center is just massive, and you're going to be forced to retreat anyways. Now your bishop doesn't have any more pressure on this side, and black is just better here. We have bishop b3, and now queen to d6, reinforcing everything. We have castles, king g7, king g7, a pretty interesting try. Maybe king h8 could have been better, because he's gonna go king h8 anyways later, so why not go king h8 right away? But okay, maybe king g7 wants to force a knight f5, but you're not forced to play that. You can go rook a d1, and bishop e6. Now the position is still in the balance. We have bishop c2, not trading any bishops, maybe not allowing a move like d4. We have knight g6, and here finally knight f5 check. You have to play that, as now you cannot trade with the knight. You have to trade the bishop, as your queen and king are forked. So we have e takes on e5, and now knight back to e7, putting pressure on this pawn. But queen h5 now, and we have king h8 nonetheless. That's why I told you about that move some time ago. So we have king h1 now, and we have knight to g8. Trying to maybe get some sort of a reroute of the knight, although this move is again pretty dubious. Here a better try could have been the move c5, putting pressure on the queen side, and you know, playing also on the queen side, maybe b5, maybe you go for a trade, and you know, you simplify some things here. You open up a file, and you create some counterplay on that side. But with this move knight g8, you're concentrating a lot on the king side here. Also, another viable move could have been rook g8, now taking over this file. There could have been some other interesting continuations, but after knight g8 we have now f4, and this move obviously was prepared by king h1. So we have rook a to e8, now trying to come back and defend. And here Staunton actually plays a move that's not that good. We have fe5, and the whole point of bringing the rook here is to, you know, kind of stop that. And we have f takes on e5 now, and here now, you know, black is gonna get some defense. And we have rook to f3 and f6. f6 right away is not the best option here. Knight f6, kicking the queen out first. For example, knight f6, and now let's see, queen back to h6. Here a move like e4 could have been crushing, as now you're opening up a lot of lines for the attack. For example, d4, d4, rook ff1, and you can already sense that black is gaining the initiative. Instead of that, after rook f3 and f6, white is the one that's going to be pushing, because now we have g4 and rook e7 now trying to defend. But here Staunton goes h4, a decision that I can still not understand very well. Here you're supposed to go rook h3, maybe rook not rook g1 as it's covered, but somehow maneuver the rooks so that you're gonna push this this g5. But with playing h4, the thing is, after bishop b8, you really don't have time to go g5, as now just e4 happens, and it's with a tempo on the rook. For example, you're gonna go rook h3 anyways, but now you don't even have any battery here. So instead of g5 we have rook h3, but still rook d8, and this move maybe loses a little bit of time, but it definitely prepares some stuff on the queen side and in the center. We have rook g1 now, and finally rook g7, right, countering the rook, and now g5. We have rook d to d7, and now g6, and in this position actually white is doing fine for himself. He's got that plan with rook g1. Anderson slipped a little bit when he allowed that rook to get there. I said that, you know, that would be a very optimal setup with the rook on g1 and playing g5, breaking, and white actually got it. So now bishop a7, rook to g2. But now after, you know, rook d to e7, right, black has to make some defensive moves. We have queen back to e2. Again, a move that, you know, loses a little bit of time. You're not very sure with what you want to do. So we have, you know, queen e2. Here, you know, maybe you could have tried activating the bishop instead, bishop b3, or even activating the other rook. This could have been very interesting. But okay, instead of that we have rook d7, queen e2, and now we just have queen back to d7. And here queen h5 back, defending the pawn as the pawn was attacked, and now rook to e8. We have rook to f3, and now knight e7. So you want to activate the knight, you want to go after this pawn. And here white tries a reroute of his own. So white tries knight f1, which is a maneuver that's interesting, and it definitely allows for, you know, a future reroute of the knight. And you want to get your knight basically to h5. But it's gonna take you a little bit, and in that time black also gets to remaneuver his knight. We have knight to c. Oh wait, what happened here? We have knight to c8. So we have knight to c8 in that position, and now knight h2. We have e4 striking back, and because Anderson saw that, okay, if you're gonna allow the knight to get here and then put a lot of pressure on f6, you're gonna be forced to just go into all-out defensive mode. So you have to strike now. e4 and de4, de4 we have on the board, and now we have rook f1, and white is doing great. White is doing great because the knight is ready to get activated, and you know, you don't have a lot to do with black. We have e3, and now a simple move like rook d1, just getting the queen off the d file, for example queen to c7, and now just simply going back with the queen, queen f3, just targeting this pawn here, making room for the knight, as I said, making room for the pawn. This could have been just crushing. But instead of that, after e3, we have the move bishop b3, which for some weird reason is played. And this move now allows an activation of the queen, which can still be met by rook d1. Now kicking the queen out, for example, queen to e4, and you know, you can just play a move like bishop c2 back, and you get a similar position to the last one, where you can either go back with the queen, or you can even take now as the rook is under attack. You can do a lot of things in the position, but instead of that here, after bishop b3 and queen to d3, Staunton takes the pawn here. Yeah, he takes the pawn on h7, and now queen e4 comes with a big threat of taking the rook. I don't know what he missed here. You know, maybe he missed that he cannot take anymore, or he cannot take here. I don't know, but now you're forced to defend, and you're pretty much forced to go queen f3, as you know, if the trade happens now, for example, if both trades happen, now e2 and you're winning, but here you don't take with the rook, you take with the knight, and now after this you are hanging on. As white, you're not winning anymore, because black is gonna get your pawns here as well. For example, move like knight d6 could be played, maybe bishop e6, maybe a move like rook e7 trying to win the pawn, and you know, it's gonna take a little bit for white to so for example knight d4, for white to get the pawn back. King f3, you can go bishop takes on d4, and this position should be a draw. Like this should be a draw, as you know, material is equal. Okay, bishop for the knight, maybe a little bit more active for white, but it should be holding for white, and all, I mean, it should be holding for black. White should be fine, but instead we have just as I said, queen f3 is forced, and it most likely is to a draw. But we have knight f3, but this just allows a nice tactic. E2 first, and now after you deflect the rook, force it to e1, you just take this other rook, and after king takes, you just simply go rook to e7, and now you're threatening to take, you're threatening to give a check. And after the move king h3, stepping out of any checks, we have the move rook to g7, and this also restricts white's counterplay on the g file. Also the bishop is here, so there were no options. Anyways, we have bishop e6 now, trying to cut off the defense here of the back rank, maybe infiltrate the queen, but simply knight d6, and you don't have any more squares for the queen here. We have knight g5, a sacrifice tried here by Staunton, but it just doesn't work. Fg5, and here he doesn't even go fg5, as this would lose immediately to bishop f2. You don't have any counterplay with this strong knight on d6. You cannot just kick it away because it takes you too much time, and also you cannot move any pawns. Like for example, if this happens, then you just take the pawn here, and if this happens, then you just take the rook. And okay, if f6 again, here you even go check and you just trade. and you're winning. Also, this, by the way, is mate in 2 apparently. King f4 and now queen g3. Okay, yeah, and look at the knight. The knight not only defends but also holds these 2 squares, and then the queen has everything else. Okay, what a nice collaboration between these 2 pieces. So we instead of that, after f takes g5, Staunton tries to take the pawn, now claiming that he has a pawn, two pawns for the piece. But now after Anderson takes with check, it's simply mate. We have knight e4. You cannot take the knight here because you get mated again. For example, king h3, now g4 check. Queen takes on g4. Now you don't even take the queen, you just check him, and now this is mate. Wait. Oh wait, no, queen f3 is made faster. Okay, queen f3 is made even faster. So yeah, there are just a million ways to give mate, and you know what's really sad about this game is that it was a very balanced game up until this mistake right here, and then after this point, I mean, Anderson simply crushed Staunton. So a very nice game. I really enjoyed this game, that's why I wanted to present it. And you know, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, the little story. Obviously you can always read more about it because chess history is always interesting, especially this era, before it was official kind of. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next one. Kowalski out.